Welcome to Bossed Up Academy, where you can get your real estate as well as your business needs met. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, as well as YouTube. Miss Teresa Pelham is our guest tonight. Miss Teresa, if you would introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, everyone. I am Teresa Pelham, the founder and CEO of the Grants Boutique, where we offer comprehensive grant writing services. We find and apply for funding to help organizations change the trajectory of their community. And I'm very happy to be here tonight. Thank you for
Aw-
inviting me.
Awesome. So we're going to take a little break while Facebook builds our audience to give people opportunity to get on. Okay, well, we're gonna jump right into tonight. As Tell us a little bit about your services and exactly what do you do to help businesses.
We offer a catalog of grant writing services. We do grant readiness assessment, in which we will give you a specific measurement of your organization's grant readiness. We do funding identification or funding search outlook, where we search foundations and government grant opportunities and statistical data for organizations based on your mission and your programs. We do grant writing, of course, and editing, where we write grant applications tailored to each funder, as well as editing services, grant reviews, and critiques. Um, Again, we do mock grant reviews, which I have a lot of people who write the grants themselves and want me to come and do the review for them, because I am a federal grant reviewer. And I also do training and technical assistance. I have a 3-day grant writing intensive that I do, and I also have a grant course that I wrote for Bethune-Cookman College, and getting it for some other colleges as well. So all things grants.
Okay, so a lot of people, when they think about grants, they think about nonprofits. So, do you work with only nonprofits or do you work with for profit businesses as well?
Well, my company, we specialize in like for-profit businesses. We also work with non-black led nonprofits, minority-owned businesses. I do grant writing for historically black colleges, minority serving institutions, and tribal colleges. So a lot of times you're right. People do think of grants as only for nonprofits, but they aren't.
Okay. So a lot of our viewers, we have a mixture of people that have nonprofits as well as for-profit
Mhm,
businesses. But I think that most of our viewers are in a for-profit business.
mhm.
So could you jump into telling us a little bit about grants for-profit businesses, such as where can they find them and how do they go about getting them?
Of course. There are a lot of grants out there for profit business. They are a little more challenging to find, but you can find them at a good place is Hello Alice. They have a lot of grants for the business, your business components. Also, Foundation Directory Online. If you have a library card, a lot of the libraries, they have a subscription to that, and you can go in and look for foundational grants. um, I Fund Women. They do a lot of grants for women entrepreneurs. Sogal Foundations, Amber Grants. I mean, there are grants out there for profit businesses. You just have to know where to look for them.
Now, do you think that for-profit business grants are more competitive to get?
I do feel like they are more competitive because there aren't as many of them as you would for grants for nonprofits. But don't let that stop you, because you may have a wonderful ideal, or your company may offer a wonderful service that the foundation or the funder is willing to fund. So don't let it stop you. That it is competitive. All grants are competitive, whether they're nonprofit or for profit. So don't let it stop you.
Now, what about people that are looking for, say, grants through the government? Because people talk about,
Mm-hmm,
I think some of the Hello Alice and all those are, sometimes funded by Fortune 500 companies. Am I
mm-hmm.
correct in saying that?
Yeah, some of them are, most of them on Hello Atlas are for corporations, but there are some federal grants. Now, when you're looking for a federal grant, there are certain things you have to have in place. One is you have to have a unique entity ID, a UEI. And you get that by going on to sam.gov and you apply for the UEI. Once you get it, then you register your business. I am a for-profit business. I have a UEI. I am registered on sam.gov. So I can apply for various grants. But also, I'm going to give you a little bonus. When you go on sam.gov and get that UEI and register your company, you are also eligible to apply for contracts, federal contracts. And let me tell you, I have a 9 to 5 where I'm a grants coordinator over several multi-million dollar federal contracts, and the government are looking for small businesses to work with.
Okay. So once you go onto you say grants.gov on the SAMs and get your
Sam.gov, and you go in and you put your information in, and you once, and maybe about 10 days they'll assign you a UEI number. And this is the number that you will need to apply for grants in the system that you just said, Erica, grants.gov. You're going to need that UEI number. So that's the first step.
Now, how do I find once I get my UEI number, then I'm over here in grants.gov and there is just so much stuff that comes up when you get on there. How do I find what pertains to my business, or what do you suggest that I do to narrow that search to see what government contracts or funding that I can get?
One thing is when you go in grants.gov, up to your right, it has search. And you have to be very specific on what you're going to do. So, like, for example, you may do mental health. If you just type in mental health, you're going to get a numerous amount of grants. So it depends. Narrow down your scope of what you're going to do. Mental health grants for children, for women. Narrow it down when you do that search.
Okay, so it's being specific in what you want.
Yes.
So, and then what about when you're on like Hello Alice, those sites? You want to
Those
do the same
sites
thing?
those sites just generally post grants from various funders. So you don't really have to be put a search in for that. You just look and go in and view the grant and see if it is a good fit for your business. Um, they just had one out. I can't think of. I think it was for women, just for women, black led women grant. And so you just go in and they post various grants. You don't have to really do a search for them.
Okay. Now, what are some other suggestions or websites that you would suggest that they go to?
Um, some suggestions before we even get to the red website. I want to tell you all some of the some like little things you need to prepare before you even start your search. I'd run across this a lot when I have clients come and say, "Oh, Miss Teresa, I need you to find me a grant," and they don't have their information in order. So I have a grant readiness checklist that I don't mind sharing with y'all, so you all can get your information in order before you even start. One is you need your history of your organization, like your years established. I need your mission, your vision, your value statements, a service area, a target population that you want to serve. Um, if you have employees, I need to know the number of your employees. That's thing. And then if you are a nonprofit, you need to do your 990 and make sure you have that. All right. And make sure you have your tax exempt status letter. All right. Have detailed organizational budget. I always tell people they see these grants, oh, it's $4 million. But do you have the capacity to do what the grant says? So don't chase the money, chase the mission that you have. And don't get caught up where, yeah, this might be $1 million grant, but you might not have the capacity to do what the grant and details you for you to do. Make sure you have recent financial statements. um Make sure you have like a budget. A lot of people come, they want a grant, but they don't even have a budget. If you want to do a program or a project, if you're a business, you need to have a budget. So make sure you have a current budget. A lot of times, some of the grants ask for a recent audit. Have a third person do an audit of your books because some of the grants they ask for that. Um,
Okay. We have a question here. Are you
okay.
located in North or South Carolina?
It doesn't matter. I have clients in North. I'm located in South, but I have clients in various states. I have one in California, North Carolina, Michigan, Georgia. So
Because most of what you're doing is virtual, right? And over the
yeah,
internet. So you
I
don't
do. But
have.
I do travel because like I have a 3-day grant intensive, and I do work with some departments from colleges who want me to come in and train their department. Or I have some SBA. I'm starting to work with a lot of SBAs now. They'll have me come in and train a group on how to get grants as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
Mhm.
what kind of things? Tell us a little bit more about what you're offering, even through the SBA.
It's a 3-day grant intensive, and in that grant intensive, it's from 9 to 5 for 3 days. It is an intensive, and so in that intensive workshop, you'll be developing the skills needed to do writing grant proposals. There are lectures. I do hands-on exercises with you. We do group exercises. I do it in person and I do it virtually. And so, and then I give you one-on-one feedback. I actually have you write a grant. We're going to go through the process of writing a grant. So I help you get everything you need to write a persuasive grant proposal.
Okay, we got another question. Are there grants for disabled veterans in transportation?
Yes, there are. And I'm sure Erica could tell you um, if you are a veteran yourself, you need to get your registration, your certification as a veteran business, and there are grants to help with transportation. And actually, you know what? I just saw a contract on sam.gov. They're looking for businesses to transport veterans to and from the VA. So if you have a UEI, you can go in sam.gov and look at that federal contract.
Now, this is the big question. Um, a lot of people, do you offer a box service? Like, I don't want to go on grants.com. Do you have a package where you say, I want a grant, this is my business. I kind of do an interview with you, to give you insight as to who, right?
Hmm.
and what I want to do. And can you just give me a box price? You package it, and we're ready to go.
Yes, I do. I do have some done for you services because I have a few clients that say, "Okay, Teresa, this is what I do. This is what I want. You do it, find it, write it, tell me what I need to do, tell me how to do the reports." I say, okay. So I do have that done for you services because a lot of people they don't want to do that. They don't want to do the grants. They want us to find the grants and they do the business. And I have no problem with that. But yeah, I do have done for you services.
He does have a UEI number
Good.
already, so that is really good, Riker. You are on the ball. Um,
Right.
and then the other one is I'm finding it hard to find grants and funding to open a butcher shop in Rock Hill. SBA loans are extremely hard to get.
They are. But because you're doing a butcher shop, which is meat, you should go on to the USDA. USDA had a grant for, because they do a lot with food production. Um, they do a lot with farms. So I would tell you go on USDA. I think it's USDA.gov, USDA.com. Let's see. I think it's .gov.
A lot of
USDA,
them
yeah, and look on U.S. Department of Agriculture. They have grants on there.
are. Okay. Awesome, awesome. What is the cost of your workshop?
My workshop is 1997. You get like I say, it's 3 full days. I also teach grant writing, college level grant writing courses. So this is my college level grant writing course condensed in 3 days. So it's intense. But when you come out, you have like your boilerplate. I call it my 100K grant package. You have your boilerplate so that whatever grant you want to come through, apply for, you have like your blueprint already. So some of the grants, they ask you the same question all the time, and I specialize in federal grants. So I will help you write it like you're applying for a federal grant. So you'll have most of everything. I'll help you do your objectives, your goals, your narrative. We'll just go through the whole grant process and you'll be writing. I'll be correcting. We'll have some hands-on exercises. You'll have some group work, and I do some lecture as well.
Okay. And then we have this question: how can we attend your workshops? Are they in person or virtual, or how do you do that?
I have a virtual one and I have in person. If you're in South Carolina, I'm working with Pernita and Johnny Birch, who does the South Carolina certification, and working with them, they're gonna host one, and so it's gonna be in person. I do not have a lot of people in there. I have no more than 25 to 50 people because it's hands on. So I if it's when I open it up, if it get filled, you're gonna have to wait till the next one. So, but I do have one coming up March 23rd. I'm sorry, I had to reach down and get my book. March 23rd, 24th, and 25th. That's gonna be virtual. So if you want to send me an email, I'll send you the link to sign up, and that one's gonna be virtual. And then I have another one in South Carolina that's going to be in person, but he hasn't given me the dates yet.
Okay. And if you're looking at the ticker at the bottom of your screen, her information, her phone number, as well as her email address, so that if you're interested in that session, you can get signed up.
Mhm.
Um, is your fee charged up front or built in a percentage of the grant?
Well, I belong to the Grant Professional Association, and we have a code of ethics. So in our code of ethics, we do not charge you a percentage of the grant. Whatever that grant is written for, you will get all the money for that. My fee is up front. and I do have payment plans. I do, but my fee is up front. I don't take any money from that grant. Whatever I write that grant for, that's what that grant is going to be used for.
Okay. Now, when you say you charge a fee up front
Hmm.
and you put people on a payment plan for it, right? Does
Well,
it
I do. Some people can pay it all at once, but then some people may need, a payment plan. I work with people. So, if they have especially if they have a specific grant they want, or they want me to write a specific grant form, and it's, all grants are dated and they have a time frame to have them completed and submitted. Sometimes they'll say, I really want this, I don't have it. So I work with them. But usually, I just send you the payment, the invoice. But sometimes I do provide a payment plan.
okay? So they want to know did when you said 1970,
1997.
1997, they want to know are you talking about $19.77?
Oh no. Oh no.
So or
Let
do
me put
you
it in the chat for you. Yes.
$1,977?
Yeah, $1,997. It's 3 days.
$1,997.
Right.
Okay,
It's
I
three
was just reading.
days. You get all your materials, your workbook, whatever you need. And we go through it and write. Now, if you took this in the college, you'll be paying 3,000 and some dollars for $3,500 for it. And
So
that's for a whole semester course.
okay, and then it says, "What is your background in grant writing?"
Oh, thank you so much for asking that. I started out as a federal grant reviewer in 2012. I was my background is in education and training and technical assistant, and so I started out as a federal grant reviewer, reviewing grants for administration of children and families, and then I guess that they liked what I did, and so I started other federal agencies that asked me to start reviewing grants. Then I started writing grants for other consulting firms. And then I don't know if you all are familiar with Dr. Beverly Browning, who is my mentor. She wrote Grant Writing for Dummies. And I did some work for her, and she asked me to be her instructional assistant for 5 of her grant writing courses at the college level. So I did that a while, and she said, "Okay, you need to open up your own consulting firm." And so I started writing my own grants after writing it for many years for other grants. But I'm also have a 9 to 5, and I work with a company called Guardians of Honor. It's out of Washington, D.C., and I am a grants coordinator. With that, I monitor a $10 million Office of Head Start grant and a $9 million education grant. So I have some grant management background as well. And
So
so
you can hear the passion in your voice as you talk about this. So,
I
do you think that you have found your passion?
this is my passion. And the reason why I like grants so much is because of the impact that grants can have for businesses and organizations. When I can get a grant for an organization who can do a summer food backpack program, or I got a grant for Kennedy King's College for $1.3 million to help with their students. That I just love the impact that grants can have. When I help a business get a grant and they can go and provide the services, that's what it is for me. The impact that grants provide.
And it comes through in your vibe, your smile, everything. And it makes, I mean, you just it's like you got a light bulb on for
I
it.
know. I love grants. And then I talk grants, write grants, do everything grants all day.
Okay. Do you find many grants for consulting business or tax preparation services?
I do. It's not one thing when you look for grants. Sometimes we think about what we do, but it's not always what we do. Funders want to know what the impact is. So a lot of times I've worked with a tax person before, and what I had to get her to think about, okay, this is what you do. You provide tax services, but how can you impact the community? And once she started thinking about that, we found her a grant. She offered tax services to the elderly. Well, the grant pays her to do that. So it's about the impact. Funders want to know how their money is going to impact the community. So you have to think about that.
Okay. So kind of is that kind of like with AARP, they set up
Mm-hmm,
places and they come in and they offer free account or
mm-hmm,
free filings for
mm-hmm.
seniors or maybe even low income,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and then the grant pays the fees.
That's right. Where you think AARP getting their money from? The grant. And sometimes they have volunteers. Now, I'm not saying that they have volunteers, but the people that they get paid for grant money. So they do
Okay. Educated. Explanation point, exclamation point.
it.
Your credentials are impressive. I love it. That's our comment.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I really love what I do. And I didn't start out being a grant writer. And I started out in education. I thought I wanted to be a school principal.
But like I said, it really shows that this is your niche. This is
It is.
your thing. Um,
Yeah.
and then thank you, Boss of Academy. You are quite welcome, and that's why we're doing this
Mm-hmm.
to have an impact on the community
Mm-hmm.
as a part of giving back and helping people go to the next level.
All right.
Uh,
Now, Erica, I want to go ahead and do the next question. Then I.
okay. Well, I don't want you to forget, so because I can
Yeah.
come back
No,
and go.
I was gonna ask. I'm gonna talk with Erica, and if you all want to take the grant writing course, I'm gonna give her a special link for all her Boss Up Academies, and I'll give you $200 off the course.
Oh, thank you. So if you're interested, inbox Bossed Up Academy and we will reply with the link as soon as
Yeah,
we have
right.
it.
I'll
Okay.
make sure I get it to you this week. So,
Okay.
but only if they're a part of your community. So,
Okay. All right. Thank
so
you.
if they want the look, they want the discount. They better join your community.
Well, thank you. So you gotta have liked Bossed Up Academy page. Have you been successful with helping one with USDA for grants for butcher shops or the food industry? So, have
Well,
you done any grants directly with USDA? I guess that's the question.
yeah, I have. I've done one with Barlow's Food. They're not a butcher shop. They're another food industry. It's called Barlow's Food, and she does pancakes. And but there are other grants beside USDA. That was just the one I was came to my mind. They have food industry grants. I probably can go here and look at one, but there are other grants for food industry. Um, I know Stacy's the uh the chip company. They have some kind of chips, but they do a $50,000 grant for food. Um, I think the National Institute of Food and yeah, that's USDA. Um, they do grants for food. I mean, there are certain like I think it's called Access to Healthy Food. They do stuff with food as well. There's a CED grant. It's a federal grant that I think is a CEDI, where they have food deserts. So even though you might be a butcher shop, you have to, like I said, think impact. Is there a place for people to get quality meats or whatever in your area? So you have to think of it like that. So there are grants out there, but you got to look for them, and you have to think impact.
Okay. So that's the biggest key is just that making sure that you are going to make a footprint in your
Hmm.
space.
Yeah, because I know USDA got that Build Back Better grant, and they had some for like food production, food processing, distribution. They had a good little bit of funding for that.
Okay. So, what other advice would you give to people as they are starting into their journey for grants for business?
Just like I say, don't chase the money, chase your mission. Don't because I and don't change your mission for the money as well. I know a lot of people who want a grant and they're doing one thing, but because this grant is available, they'll change their mission. That's called mission creep. And we don't want to do that. Stick to your mission. You will find the funding. And also don't just think about grants. When you think about grants is not a fast money. Just say it, just put it that way. As a process. So if you're in need of money quick, grants is not it. Unless it's a local grant. Sometimes local grants you can get the money quicker. But don't let a grant want a grant out of desperation, basically. That's
Okay.
that's not
So
what to
they
do.
said, awesome, Teresa. What is the typical turnaround time for start to finish submission with your service?
Oh, with my services, it depends on the grant. It depends on the grant, and it depends on you all. Now, sometimes I have a few clients who didn't have all the necessary documents, so we had to start at day one. You had to give me the documents, give me your resumes, give me all this stuff, your articles, and sometimes it depends on the client. Usually, it'll take me, my staff, maybe a couple of weeks to get everything done if you have your documents. We'll get your boilerplate ready for you and ready for you to apply for grants. I do have a package that I do that we will write one grant for you. We will get you all your certifications or whatever you need. We will find you 5 good fit funders for you and get your boilerplate done. And that usually take us a couple of weeks because we're getting documents from you, trying to get everything. We're researching. So that don't takes maybe about 2 to 3 weeks for us to get it done. Because
So,
I do have staff and I have a data analyst, so they work as well.
do you have a one price or does it customize according to the business?
No, I used to I do have some customization because I have some people who don't fit like my pricing range, but most of the time I do have one price. Now I do have retainers that I am their grant writer. That's all I do for them. I write their grants. And I write multiple grants throughout the year. They have me on retainer. They just call me and say write this grant, and that's what I do. But then there are some that that they just want to do a one grant service, and I do have a fee for that. And
Okay.
then I have some who don't meet them, and we just talk and get a fee, charge by the hour, how long it's going to take me to do whatever they need done.
Okay. So you got a, customization. So you have some things that are out of the box and then you've got some things that are able to be customized.
Yeah, I do.
Now on so do you have a pricing sheet for those things that are
I
out?
do. I
Okay.
do. And once they if they would like email me my
Okay.
it'll automate, it's automated, so they'll get a pricing sheet. You may get a freebie from me. I don't know what's on the email right now. I know that's awful to say.
Okay.
I
But
don't
the
know what's
email
attached
address
to
is
it.
scrolling the bottom of the
Yeah.
screen so
I
they
don't
can.
know what's attached to the email right now, but you get a free meal pricing list.
Okay. So is it any time where you're just so busy that you just close off sections where you're just not taking people?
No, because I have contracted grant writers that I always can refer people to. What I do is with the grant writing course, I have some people who actually want to be a grant writer. And so I funnel them into my grant industry professional network, which I have a catalog or have grant writers in their specialties. And see, I know that they are vetted because I've taught them, I know, and helping them get their certifications, and I have them. So most time, if I can't write it, I always have a grant writer that is available to write the
So
grant.
the Grant Boutique has affiliate writers as well. So then that way you can maximize the capacity in
That's
order to serve everyone that contacts your company.
right. That's correct.
Now, what about local? Because I know, like, during the pandemic, there were like a lot of, local and state level grants. I know we
Mm-hmm.
talked about the federal ones, but
Mm-hmm.
how do people find out? Like, I'll just give you an example. SC Cares, when they were giving businesses
Mm-hmm.
the grant, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people didn't know until the deadline was already passed. So, how do you find out about local government, city, or even state grants?
My I guess my advice to you all is if you are a business, you need to join your local chamber of commerce because they will know when they get that money. And even if you don't want to join, attend some of the meetings because they know when the state they have a report and they'll tell you they know when those grants are coming through down the pipe. Also, your economic development, your local economic development organizations, they too know when grants are coming down the pipe. So, but I would say at least be a part of your local chambers. I know some states have the local Black Chamber of Commerce. Join those. Um, just doing anything that's local dealing with businesses, and that's free. I don't pay for. I don't pay to join anything. It's free. Okay, I'll join.
What do you feel about connecting with people such as your procurement centers in your area?
I think it's wonderful. I think the more one thing about grant writing, we always talk about collaborative partnerships and building relationships. So I think it's wonderful. I think you should. The more opportunities out there for you to build these relationships with, the better it is that you'll find grant funding. Because a lot of times, for one example, it was a grant here locally, but I did not see the advertisement for it. But I had a relationship with someone and they told me about it. So it's about relationship building as well.
And then they were saying membership fees are expensive with the chamber, but like she said, that there are some free organizations that
Right,
you can join.
right. Join the free one. And even if they sometimes the chambers have little events and I'll call and say, hey, I see you have an event. Do you mind if I come? Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. Go. Because all you want to do is network. You can get your foot in the door. That's what you want to do.
Okay. Now, if you just don't have time to research grants, but there's always loans available.
Hmm.
Do you help with orchestrating business plan in order to submit packages for business loans?
I do not. But I
Okay.
can refer you to someone who does. That's
Okay.
I do have someone who does help you with your loan applications, business loans and stuff. Crowdfunding and something else she does. I can't remember. Security investments or something like that. So I can refer you to them. I mainly do grants. It's
Okay.
enough to know the compliance and the laws for those. I don't want to.
And that's a part of, and we talk about this too, a part of having a niche in business, because a lot of small businesses, like you said, they trying to retailer their mission to fit that
Mm-hmm.
grant, or
Mm-hmm.
they need to stick to what their niche is, and you
Right.
will attract what you need. And that's just with your customer base and everything, rather than trying to chase every dollar.
Right. And
So
every grant is not always a good grant for you. Every grant is not out. So that's why you got to really read the notice of funding and the opportunity, and you got to really read it, because I've known some businesses who gotten grants, and the federal grant took them back because they weren't in compliance.
So
And
it's not you just get this money and you get a free for all to spend it.
oh no,
There is accountability after the funds are awarded, that you got to
yes,
perform
there's things.
certain duties.
Right. There's things you do before you get the grant, while you have the grant, and after you get the grant. So there are compliance, there are federal laws. I mean, yeah. So you have to not just think, oh, I got this money, I can do whatever I want with it. No, you have to do what you said you were going to do. And you're going to have to submit a report, whether it be local, corporate, federal, state. You're going to have to do that.
Okay. We do have another question. Thank you for
Okay.
the information. Are there any grants for trucking companies?
There are. I would tell you, go on DOT, Department of Transportation. Look for that. Look for those grants for there. Also, look under your local, like your state. Sometimes they have grants too. They have grants for trucking, because um, or they have federal, or they have contracts for trucking.
Okay.
So even though, and I know this is not a grant, but even though sometimes you don't have a grant, sometimes you can get a contract, and that kind of helps boost your revenue too.
Right, because then that gives you steady reoccurring money that you know that you
Right.
just as long as you perform, you gonna be able to get it. And also because a lot of people are looking business to customer and they don't realize business to business a lot
Right.
of times, and these contracts will sustain you better than you just trying to go out here and find people to work
Good.
for on
Right.
a
Right.
one basis, because a contract can give you 1,000
Hmm.
deals when, okay, you got to work each one to get to 1,000. If
Right.
you're out here just doing business to customer versus
Right.
business to business or business to government.
Right.
And that could be a game changer, like you said, to
Hmm.
produce more revenue. Now,
Right.
what are some drawbacks, because people look at the positive side because they're thinking about grants funding. What is
Hmm.
that nightmare side for a lot of people too, or that could be a potential nightmare to people who receive funding if they
Don't
don't?
they don't have the capacity to say what they said they were going to do in the grant. You might have $1 million grant, and you might have two employees, and those two employees cannot fulfill what the grant is saying. So that's why I always say, make sure you know what you need to do for that grant. Also, another thing is when mismanagement of funds, you don't have like your accounting policies and procedures. You don't have your grant management SOPs, standard or operating procedures. That can be a nightmare as well.
Okay. Then we have another comment here. You indeed need grants for trucking. Most lenders will not fund trucking companies because of the high risk. Okay. So, what other industries do you see? People always think of grants in terms of money.
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes people award grants in terms of locations and different things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So,
Um,
if you don't mind, could you talk about, some grants are not actually dollars?
right. A lot some grants are for demographic uh let me get it right, demographics. That they only serve a certain population. Most of the grants you do get some type of funding for, that I know of, that I've worked with, but there are special target populations that you can only use it for. Um, Now, a lot of people get like um, pitch competitions or some other things. They're not grants. Like Federal Express have a competition. That's a competition. That's not a grant. They ain't giving you no grant. You got to do something to get that grant. You got to be in a competition, like a pitch contest or something. But they call it a grant. But a lot of those aren't. So you got to know who you're going to work with, your target population, where, and then there are a lot of grants that are focused on just their state. There are a lot of state grants, or just people, corporation or foundations that have a specific target population. I just wrote a grant for a company or organization. They are helping Jewish elderly for the housing, and it was their foundation, but that's only who they wanted to help. So it depends. That's why you got to make sure you look at the grant you're going for and make sure it's a good fit for your company.
Okay.
And one thing I do want to say, just because you apply for a grant does not mean you're going to get the grant. So if you don't get the grant, I always tell people, go and write a letter for to the funder and ask for them to give you your grant summary or the review summary, or talk to them and tell them how you can ask them how you can make your application stronger and try again. I did that with the Hello Alice grant. One of my clients, she wrote it and she submitted and she didn't get it. So I said, okay, let's do something different this time. And I drafted the email and she sent it to them, asking how can she make her grant application stronger. Of course, they're not going to give you specifics, but they gave us some general information. I helped her with it, and this time she got it.
Okay. So, and a lot of times it's not about giving up.
Right. You're not going to always get every grant you get. You're not gonna always get it. Especially if not. Nah, I ain't gonna say that. I do. No, I'm just kidding. I get the grants. All right. No, I'm just kidding. But if you don't, it's just look at it as an opportunity for improvement. I always reach out to the funders and say, hey, what can I have a summary or the review summary from the reviewer, or can you tell me how I can improve this grant?
And then also, a lot of people don't realize, even though you wrote that grant for this one, then you can save it and use that same framework for another grant and maybe tweak it. And
Right.
you've already got your grant ready to go. And it may be a grant that you can get.
Right, right. And I always tell them that. That's why when I work with them, I say, okay, we're going to help you get your framework, because you can use that framework and just tweak it for multiple grants. Now, don't copy and paste it exactly. If the question doesn't, I am a federal grant reviewer and I've seen those, and we just like, next.
So, just having your framework, making sure you're able to tweak it and make sure that
Mhm.
it's answering the right questions that they're asking you for that particular one.
Right. And make sure you have your documents. I always when I work with my clients, I have them to put all their documents in folders, because when you're writing a grant, you're on a time frame. It's a deadline date. So it's so much easier if you have your stuff organized, have all your documents so you can say, okay, I need this document, I need that one, and you can just pick them and put it in the grant application and submit it instead of you like, okay, where's my EIN letter? Where's that's too much time.
So, very informative guest speaker, Bossed Up Academy. Thank you for all the gems, Miss Pelham.
Oh, you're welcome. And I really, truly want you all to get that money. Last year, it was $1 billion in grant funding given out. And just the United States. I ain't talking about the Canada and the global grant, just in the United States. There's money out there for you all to get. Let's get that money.
Well, they say the money's already printed. You just got to get it.
That's right. So true.
And so sometimes people, when they apply for a grant and they don't get it, they let their disappointment override them coming back again. So
Yeah.
how do you get over disappointment when your grant's been denied?
If your grant has been denied, I want you to say, there's $1 billion out there for me to get. This is only a portion. So I'm going to go regroup, look and see how I can improve this application. I'm going to try it again, but I'm also going to be looking for some other ones.
Oh, so Erica, you're the plug. Thank you. So that's, and I just see so many people just counting themselves out or
Yeah,
discouraging themselves that they can't get it or they're not going to get it or they're not going to be eligible, or if they do have a one strike against them, they don't want to reapply or
no.
move forward.
Let me give you a little hint. The National Institute of Health, they have grants out. You have to apply for that grant 3 times before you get it. 3 times. And so if they have to tell you play for 3 times, it's okay. Just now don't keep submitting the same thing. Look at it, look at it, edit it, and apply again. In your mind, if you don't get that grant, say, there was $1 billion of grant funding out there. This is just one grant. Let me try again.
Then I've seen where people was talking about how some grants don't even have enough applicants.
They don't. But just because they don't have enough applicants, that don't mean you're gonna get the money.
You're not going to do it by default.
Yeah, you're not gonna get it by default. Because we just had that. I'm over that administration of children and family. We didn't get enough applications in. So we reviewed the applications they had, and not all of them got funded. We did because they weren't. You have to have what the grants require. So a lot of grants, they don't get a lot of the applications, but it doesn't matter. That don't mean they'll just put that money in the pot and it just rolls over to the next competition.
So, but that's why you want to be able to compete by
Right.
having your stuff correct. And
Right.
then that way, if there's not enough applicants, then they may can still fund you just because
Right.
you did have all your stuff correct.
Right. Everything was correct. You met all the requirements. You had met the eligibility. And it may be 3 applications. They may fund all 3 if all of the grant proposals are in line with what the funder wants.
So
So
do sometimes
always apply. I don't care what it is. If you feel like you're eligible, apply.
every day and every way I'm getting better and better. This should be the thought process. Don't give up.
Exactly. Well said, Mr. Barber.
Yep, a very good self-talk. And sometimes we do have to have self-talks with ourselves to keep us motivated, keep
Mm-hmm.
us encouraged to keep moving forward.
Right.
Because grant process is not always the easiest process, if
Uh,
you would agree or disagree.
yeah, I agree. But the thing is that one thing I always tell people when they don't get a grant or they don't want to try, you getting a grant to impact the community. So who is not getting the service they need from you because you don't want to try? There may be somebody out there who are in dire need of your services, but they're not going to get it because you don't want to try. You giving up. So you
Right.
have to, it's about the impact.
And I don't think you can stress that enough more than you stressed it tonight. The impact on
It's
the
the impact.
community.
It's the impact. Because
Okay. We have another one. I came in late, but my question may have previously been discussed. But where can I find some certification courses or class to better understand grant writing? But this is a good conclusion question too.
yes. Well, I just offered, if you are part of the Bossed Up Academy, I have a grant writing course. It's a college level course. But I also do a 3-day grant intensive. And it is intense. It's 9 to 5. I think it's 9 to 4. I think it's 9 to 5. 9 to 5 for 3 days, all day. I tell you, pack a lunch. You get a lunch, but it's intensive, and it's for $1,997. I'm taking my college level course and condensing it. You'll have one-on-one feedback. You'll have group exercises, hands-on exercises, and lectures. But if you're part of the Boss Up Academy, you're gonna get $200 off of that. So you only gonna pay $17.97 instead of $19.97.
And we'll have that link, and we'll
Yes,
actually post the link this week once we receive it.
yes.
Her information is scrolling at the bottom of the page, both her phone number as well as her email address. Um, and give the dates for that, the most recent class that you'll be having
Um,
again in
it
March.
is March 23rd, 24th, and the 25th. This is a virtual class. But you still do your group because I put you in breakout rooms. I'll be monitoring. I'm gonna she said, what about a local teacher? That's so funny. I used to thought I wanted to be a principal. But so it's March 23rd, 24th, 25th, all day intensive. You'll get your workbook. Once you sign up, you get your packet of information and stuff. Now, I did want to tell you, you have a consultation. So do you do more than grant writing? No, I do grant writing, but I'm starting that staffing and recruitment agency for the Grant Industry Professional Network. That's what I do. And I help people, I help a little bit get their certifications if it's my client, and also help them find some government contracts. But most of the time I source that out. But Erica, I do want to say to the person who said some certifications, there are only two organizations that can certify you as a grant writer. It's the Grant Professional Association and the Grant Professional, what is it? Credential Institute. It's GPCI. I forgot what. But those are the only two that can certify you as a grant writer. A lot of these other courses, they give you a certificate of participation. So I don't want you to take a grant. Even mine, even though I am, my course is certified by one of the certification industry, I'll give you a certificate of participation that you can use my course to take the exam for the certification. But a lot of these companies and organizations, they say, oh, you're going to get you a certified. No, it's only two companies that can certify you as a grant writer. What you giving you is a certificate of participation. I just don't want people to get confused because they go to these things and they say, oh, I'm certified, I got a certificate. No, it's a certificate of participation.
So I do want to make this clear though. The course that you offer will help them to prepare
For
for
the actual
the
exam,
certi-
it's an exam that we as grant writers take to become certified. And
So do
so
you have to take any courses to get certified, or do you just have to pass a test exam?
it's an exam, but you have to have I think it's 3 or 5 successful grant writer. You have to have so many hours of training, which this course will help you with. Um, and there's some other things, that you have to do to get there, but it's a process. and it's like 150 page 150 question exam plus a writing portion.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah, and that's why I so many people say, "Oh, I went to this course, I'm certified." And I just want to tell y'all the truth. You're not certified. You have a certificate of participation.
okay. That's good information to know, and to know that not only will that 3 day course give you a certificate of participation and give you the framework and the blueprint, but
Mhm.
you'll also be preparing to get yourself together for the exam for to
Yeah,
be actually become certified.
yeah.
So
You get
it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone.
right because you have to have so many training hours. So this will help you if you're thinking about being a grant writer, and if you think about being a grant writer, hit me up because I do work with a lot of nonprofits and organizations that are looking for grant writers, and I can vet you and help you get your certification.
Okay. And then also, now, do people hire full time grant writers? Some of the
Oh,
organizations.
all the time. I looked on it. I was talking to the grant person at VSU, and we were discussing about because I'm going to Virginia State University to talk to his students about a career in grant writing. So I was just telling him I went on LinkedIn and I got it written down here, and just put in grant writers. There were 658 grant writer positions, 224 grant manager positions, and when I just put in grants and jobs in LinkedIn, there were 5,409 positions.
So you could even make yourself marketable in the space of grant writing to put
Mm-hmm.
yourself as a consultant or whatever to
That's
make
right.
it a unlimited income potential.
Mm-hmm. It is. That's true. Because I started out doing this part time, and now my business has grown that I'm a full time business.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a need and a high job outlook for these because people need funding sources,
Mm-hmm.
especially funding sources that they don't have to pay back. And also, people want to do things the right way, so they need people to manage it after the fact as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah, they want people to manage the grant to stay in compliant because you
Now,
don't
do
want the
you
feds coming for you.
do you manage the grants for people?
I do. I do. I have a few of my retainer clients that I do, and I make sure they we collect metrics and submit reports because you have to submit a report. So I make sure I attend the meetings or whoever staff attend the meetings, and they make sure they stay in compliance with the grants. Because sometimes the grants are not just most of the federal is more than 1 year. It might be a 5 year grant, it might be a 3 or 4 year grant. So yeah, we want to make sure they stay in compliance so they can get that money every year.
Okay, good. And we are about to close out because we're a little bit over on the
Oh,
time.
sorry.
What? Huh?
I said I'm sorry.
Oh no, you are perfectly fine. I think we got a lot of participation, a lot of engagement. I mean, this information was well worth it, and it doesn't feel like we've been on here long at all. But and we're so grateful for the information because we try to be a sponge for knowledge
Mhm.
because you just don't know. And then, like you said, a lot of people don't know. And then there's no resource or no legitimate resource
Right.
that can lead them and guide them to the next level of what they're trying to do. So it's not only good that you know where to get the grants, but you'll actually see it through to help them manage the funding to
Mhm.
make sure that they can renew again if they
Right.
want to and have those options, or if they're giving the money out in segments that they're able to get the next round of funding.
Right. Right. So
Okay,
I do
so
that.
what would you like to close with and let people know or say to our watchers?
Don't be afraid of grants. Don't let grants stress you out. Because they can be stressful, but don't let them stress you out. Always reach out if you need help and apply. Don't be afraid to apply. Do it. Just step
Okay.
out there.
All
And always it's about the impact.
right.